Okay, now I'm live. All right, so this is like, I have been just completely blocking out a lot of noise for the last 3 days. And I had this contemplation the other day about temptation. And I love playing around with words from the Bible because the Bible really does not define these terms. Like, for instance, one of my favorites is temptation is from the devil. And that is so archaically, like, could you be any more antiquated? Like, what does this mean? What does temptation mean? What does the devil mean? And of course, I was raised with, the church's interpretation, and I know what they say. But from a historical point of view, and from a logical point of view, and from a psychological point of view, and philosophical point of view, when you look at sociology on a whole and human behavior, what does it really mean? So there's like points in the Bible that just really stuck out at me when I was like 4 years old. I got into a lot of arguments with philosophical teachers when I was 4. And this was one of them. It was Christ in the wilderness. It was when he was going like 40 days fasting. And there's this moment where the devil sits down and has this conversation with Christ, and he tempts him with food and water. And the teachers told the story, and then they preached about the meaning behind it. And my brain just screamed at me, well, wait a minute, I have so many follow-up questions. But I was 4. And when I finally did get around to asking the questions, it stirred up a lot of problems. So it's been bugging me. It's been nagging me. Like, why? Why? First of all, why would Christ just be sitting there having a calm, la, 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 la kind of day in the desert when the devil is suddenly sitting there? Which tells me that that wasn't really the devil. And it was bugging me. And I'm like, what is the devil? Oh, yeah, see, it just hit me. So I figured out what God is, the metaphor. And that's it, is I studied metaphor. I studied ancient text. I studied literature. I studied writing. I studied grammar and communication and etymology. I studied the evolution of language to understand how it evolves. And then I studied psychology and how psychology affects, like, how it changes our society, how it changes our system and our way of thinking. And language is a beautiful language. We're back to communication. Communication is 100% you keep someone talking long enough and eventually they'll tell the truth. It's a fact. You keep someone talking long enough and eventually they'll tell the truth, because they can't keep up communication bullshit forever. You can't fake action and behavior. Action and behavior, there is no bullshitting. But communication, you can keep up a lie for a while and then it falls apart. That's the way communication works. It's why investigators purposely get you talking. So I figured out what God was. And when I went through the Bible and I plugged in the word, what I figured it out with what I figured it out, and I plugged it in, God, it makes so much sense now. Oh, it makes so much sense. So when I plugged it all in with my new realization, the Bible reads completely different. And the same goes for, okay, so there's the word God, there is the word temptation, there is the word sin, and there is the word devil or serpent or Satan. So if you go through the Bible and you replace, okay, so my ADD is like taking off there, sorry. And if you replace these words with other definitions, actual psychological, like, metaphor, if you can break down the metaphor, then it makes a lot more sense. So temptation, I'm just going to say it. The devil is your intuition. The devil is your intuition. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, it is. I got to think about this. Give me a minute. Yeah, I really think the devil is your intuition. No, the devil is the Holy Spirit. No, I'm sorry. I'm misspeaking. It's coming to me. Give me just a moment here. The Holy Spirit is your intuition. But temptation, this is actually why I jumped on this, is like, I gotta show you, is because temptation is distraction. That's it. It is the inability or the lack of focus on your goal. That is what temptation is. So when the devil, person X, comes along and presents temptation, I wonder if the devil is just a narcissist, or if it's just third-party people in general. It's anybody who deters you from your goal. And your goal is your identity. That's where you want to be, what you want to do. But temptation is a distraction. Temptation is noise from third parties. And it really hit me these last few days when I was, not few days, it hit me 2 years ago. It hit me right around the time I met Juanito. You know, I met him and I had a lot of people, 4 or 5 people, just scream at me. No, there's more story to this. No, there's more to this story. I was backpacking through Manhattan, and I was literally picking up a lot of, I was having about 7 men a week. And I had a few, most of them were like one night stands, but some of them ended up becoming really good friends. I think a total of 3 of them, 4 of them I'm still talking to after 3 years. 4 of them are still in my life. And one of them is my sub. One of them is one of my dearest friends. One of them is a friend who actually has helped me out quite a bit. And then the other is, I can't remember right now. My thoughts are going a million miles a minute. But my point is, every one of them, basically, except for the 2 who are closest to me, informed me very, very aggressively that I needed to dump Juanito and leave him, even though they knew nothing about him, even though I don't understand this. I really don't understand it. I don't. They mocked me. They laughed at me. They called him stupid. And it took me a while to realize, like, there's this one person, he came right out and told me that I belonged to him. So I really caught on quickly that the people in my life who told me that I needed to get rid of Juanito threatened them. And that's really it. They are threatened by him. Everyone who has told me to get rid of Juanito is threatened by him because they don't know me. They're not trying to protect me. He has certainly not dangerous. All he has ever done for me, he has done so much for me. And he's my nakama. He is my family. He is my kin. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And there's no doubt in my mind. There's just a lot of outside noise. And then I would have friendships. I cut all those people out of my life, and then I got new friends. And then those people were like, why are you with him? Why are you? And I'm like, what do you want from me? And after digging, I found out that they wanted me to be single and enjoying myself so they could have me. I am a one-man show. I mean, I have me, my children, my company, and one person. Not one man, not one girlfriend, one person. This is just how I socialize. I am so focused on my work and my children and me that there isn't room for anybody else in my life. I have so many hobbies and so many love and so many children. Okay, I've got 3 children, but so many clients and so many, like, the business, that I really only have room for one person in my life. And I love it. And it's my go-to person. It's the one person where it's like, let's go on an adventure. And I grab him and we go on an adventure. One person gets the slot. I don't have room for other people. I don't have room for 5 to 10 friendships like other people can do. Now, Juanito himself cannot understand this. And it's hilarious. I am an anomaly to everyone I have spoken to because they do not understand that. They know that I only have 1, maybe 2 people in my entire life, and that's it. And they don't understand it. Everybody else has like 20 friends. And they look at me and they're like, what the fuck? So it becomes high competition for this one spot because I've got one spot and just one spot. And I would rather be a platonic friend with Juanito and no one else rather than have a partner or a romantic interest because he's my one person. And I don't have room for a business partner and somebody else. I don't have room for a husband and a business partner. I don't have room for a best friend and a husband. I can't do that. I can't. That's more socializing than I ever need. I don't need that much socializing. So for me, I have room for one person and that is it. And it's been all this noise, and then I get into manifestation, and I'm focused. Well, I focus more into manifestation, and I'm focused on my dream, and I've got people just coming in, and I see my goal at the end with the garden, and I have people and voices coming in. Oh, you should do this. You should do this. You should do this. That's temptation. That is a distraction. This is really important because this applies to everyone's life. This is it. That's temptation. But it's such a religious, churchy word that we stopped using it because it really is a religious, churchy word. But it is a word that very beautifully summarizes all of the noise. So we stopped using it because it's so religious and churchy, and it's so poorly defined. Temptation is sin that leads you off your path of righteousness. Path of righteousness is a metaphor for a path that leads you to the intuition and the dream. There's a whole lot of manifestation in the Bible, and it's really awesome when you start to find it and pull it apart. And I realized that temptation is all the distraction and all the noise and all the parties that your friends want you to go to. I have one goal at the end of this, one goal. And I'm going to be bombarded. And it's in the Bible. They say you're going to be tested. This is it. Every time you are on this goal, you cannot stray off your path. You have to keep your heading, and you have to keep going forward. And it doesn't matter what comes. You have to keep going. And that's part of it. That's the trial by fire. And that's it. This is trial by fire. There's nothing else. Take it all. That's not going to stop me. I'm not going to suddenly stop and say, oh, maybe I should. No, it's me versus intuition right now. And my intuition is telling me to keep on this path. And my identity, my dream is telling me to keep on that path. And I feel like they're testing to make sure I really want it. And I don't give a shit about the tests. I don't give a fuck about the tests. They're annoying me at this point. And they're not going to annoy me anymore because they are so irrelevant. And I have a very, very clear goal at the end. And I'm at a point where I am dropping distraction so fast, left and right. What I want paying clients, and I want a fuck ton of them. And I want financial security, and I want to share that with Juanito because we're going to go on adventures. And I can see the adventures. I've been able to see the adventures in my head for 2 years, for 3 years now. I can see it, and I want it, and we're doing it. And I'm really tired of temptation. And you just get to that point where you realize that temptation is third-party people giving you their opinion. It's third-party people yelling at you. It's distraction. It's all the invitations of parties that are coming up, and you refusing to participate because you have a goal, and you cannot sway from that goal. I have to get to my goal. And it's suddenly very, very clear. It is crystal clear to me. It's funny. I went onto my website, and it all hit me like 20 minutes ago, and I realized, no, my classes are wrong. I had 5 classes out, and I cut 2 of them out. So I only have 3 courses. I should say courses, not classes. I have 3 courses left. I've got membership, I've got my master classes, and I've got power of self. The other 2 were just distraction. I dropped them. Nope, that's not it. That's why I didn't record them. It's why I didn't have any emotion into them. They're not me. I threw them out. I loved power of self. I'm keeping that. I'm loving the concept of journeying yourself, and now I'm going to do my philosophy course. But yeah, what I have, those 3 membership, power of self, and my master classes, that's good enough. That's all you get. That's it. I feel solid about that choice. I feel solid about that decision. I feel fantastic. I feel like I just shrugged a whole lot of temptation and distraction off of me. I feel stronger. I feel more confident. I feel stable. I have been racking my head around marriage, around relationships. And there is nothing in this world that we have fucked up more than the word love, than the concept of love. I am not going to get into this here because this is deep, and I'm talking about temptation. I think the devil is fear. I think the devil is fear. Because fear tempts us to stray off the path because we get afraid, so we get distracted. The devil is fear. Temptation is distraction. God is my favorite. They actually told us in the Bible what God is. Son of a fucking bitch. Yeah. And that is the reason why our humility blinds us from seeing what the answer really is. Our humility blinds us from seeing what that answer is. You have to clean up your humility in order to understand the last question. It's beautiful. When I figured it out, I went, son of a fucking bitch. You have to have the right amount of humility, the right amount of value, self-value, and self-importance. And when you get that right amount of balance between humility and self-value and self-importance, you realize something. You realize a very solid truth that anyone outside of that perfect ratio doesn't get. It's the last, you don't get this until you get to the knowing, the belonging, and the authority. When you get to the knowing, the belonging, and the authority, then this option opens up to you and you step into this place of pure balance between humility and self-value. And then you understand you have the truth. And then you see the truth and you go, oh, holy shit. And everything makes sense. And I just feel that trust. No. So many people are wrong. So many people have this wrong because you don't get this knowledge reading books. You don't get this information. No one wrote this down. Well, maybe the Knight Templars did. No one wrote this down. This isn't in the Akashic records. This does not exist. Because if it were in the Akashic records, people would be talking differently. And they're not. Because it's not in the books. This is different. And I'm going to tell you right now, everyone has this wrong. And you don't get this until you enter the knowing and the belonging and the authority. And then you find that gorgeous little sweet spot between humility and self-value. And then you understand and you look at the Bible completely different and you interpret everything differently. No. And this is where the only way to get the answer is to literally block out the temptation. You have to completely shut it out, which is why I was on the right track when I told everyone to shut the fuck up. And I removed commenting and I stopped replying on Facebook and I shut it all down. And I said, this is about me versus myself. The answers are in me and I got them. And I understand. I know. I understand. And it's so fucking solid, which is why the Bible is in metaphor. They were not going to be able to do this any other way. They had to write it in metaphor because you can't just throw this information around. But you have to be able to go back once you get to the knowing, the belonging, and the authority and go back. I'm going to read the Bible tonight. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read the Bible. And I know Charlton Heston did an audiobook recording of it. Why have I waited so long to do this? Oh, yeah. Charlton Heston, the Bible. All right. So that's what I'm doing tonight. Just a minute. I'm going to talk for one more minute. That's all I have to say. Actually, here, if you're so thirsty, you can drink my water. I know you don't have to. Give me 1 second. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. Take a look at my shop at anashealinggarden.org. I have masterclasses. I now have membership. So you can do like 120 a month and it will open up the power of self and you get journey into the self with that. And I'm very excited about that. And that's all. I have my masterclasses. I've got my membership and I've got my journey into my power into the self, the power of self. I'm so happy. I feel so cozy and warm in my own selfness. All right. Thank you. And may the kindest of words always find you.